Once upon a time there was somebody, and when somebody was younger it got asked, what do you want to accomplish in life? And then somebody started thinking, what do I want? What do I want? I want to start my own company. And then the person asking the question said, amazing idea, go build your dreams. Then somebody got older, it wanted to start its company, but if you want to start a company, you need a name. So somebody started thinking again, and it thought about the conversations he had in the past. And that's how the story went. Hello there, monsters and men, ladies and people. This is the Build Your Dreams Atto 3, and welcome to Recharging. Hold on. Who was that guy in my review talking so much bull? Anyway, enjoy the review. And here it is, Build Your Dreams, or BYD. And if you have never heard of BYD, well, from now on you should, because BYD is the biggest electric car maker in the world. Yes, they are huge. Not in Europe, not yet, but when I was traveling through New Zealand, basically the only electric cars that I saw were Teslas, Nissan Leafs, or this BYD Atto 3. And soon, more BYD models in Europe will follow, including the BYD Dolphin, a small hatchback. And I am really looking forward to driving that one. But I am not here to talk about that car, I am here to talk about the Atto 3. So, let's open up the boot then. If I open up the boot of the Atto 3 with the electric tailgate, because this is the top trim and it has one, you will see a boot space of 440 liters. If I fold down the rear seats, you will get a boot space of 1138 liters. And that makes this boot around the same size of that of the Kia Niro EV. And the same thing applies to the length of this car. It is about the same size as the Kia Niro EV. So what is the biggest competitor for the BYD Atto 3? You are right, it is the Niro EV. Or maybe it is the other way around. The biggest competitor for the Niro EV is this BYD Atto 3. Because for the same price of a base model Niro EV, you get a fully spec'd, fully loaded Atto 3. BYD played it very safe with the design of this car. Here stands a car that is not exciting, but nobody finds it ugly either. BYD says though that the design of this car is Chinese culture mixed with European taste. Yeah, whatever. Let's move on to more important things. Does this electric car have a frunk? Even though there is plenty of space for it, no, it does not. The BYD Atto 3 has one motor in the front. That motor has 204 horsepower and 310 Newton meters of torque. With that it can do 0 to 100 in 7.3 seconds, and the car is limited according to spec to 160 kilometers per hour. And I say according to spec because I have been to Germany and I have done 169 kilometers per hour, so BYD, But anyway, you heard it right, front wheel drive, so that also means that on a wet roads the front wheels tend to spin. The battery in this car is 60 kilowatt hours big, and on that 60 kilowatt hours you can do, according to the WLTP, 425 kilometers. But the battery is not an ordinary battery, because it is BYD's Blade battery. What is so special about the Blade battery then? Well, according to BYD, this is the safest battery in the world. Yeah. First of all, the Blade battery is not a lithium-ion battery, but it is a LFP battery. This doesn't necessarily make it the safest battery in the world, but BYD did a penetration test of their Blade battery, so they penetrated an object right through the battery, and they also did this with other batteries, and where the other batteries reached a temperature of 200 to 500 degrees Celsius, so they were on fire, basically. Well, literally, they were literally on fire. The blade battery of BYD only reaches a temperature of 30 to 60 degrees Celsius, so very impressive. So how does the Atto 3 drive? Well, if you are looking for a sporty experience, then you have to look further. But if you are looking for a quiet car that gives you a refined way of comfortness, then the Atto 3 might be the car for you. At first I found the Atto 3 a bit too floaty, but driving it with it longer, the suspension of the Atto 3 is actually really good. Again, it is a refined way of comfortness. Where in the Niro EV, when you take a speed bump, the back bounces one time too many, the suspension of the Atto 3 settles nice and quick. Where with a MG ZS EV, when you take a corner with a bit higher speed, it leans in the corner and well, you're a bit scared sometimes. In this Atto 3, the car stays planted when you take a corner with a higher speed and the car gives you confidence. Again, it is a really good driving car. It is a comfortable car. Again, nothing sporty about it, but a really good, comfortable car. Then the driving position, what can I say? Plenty of adjustability in the steering wheel, good seats, plenty of adjustability in the seat, so no trouble finding a good driving position in this car. The visibility to the rear though, that can be improved. The rear window is a bit small and also the seat pillars are kind of big. As I have already said, the WLTP range of the BYD Atto 3 is 420 kilometers. But that is the WLTP range. What is the real world range of this car? Well, I love to be the bringer of good news because yesterday, and I have to admit, the conditions yesterday were basically perfect. It was 22 degrees with sun and barely any wind. But when driving on mixed roads, I got a range of a little over 420 kilometers. So more than the WLTP range. Driving 100 kilometers per hour on the highway, I got a range of around 400 kilometers. Driving 130 kilometers per hour on the highway, then I have to admit the BYD Atto 3 loses its efficiency a little, and that is probably because it has a drag coefficient of 0.29, which is not the best, but I got a range of around 250 kilometers. But in general, the BYD Atto 3 is an efficient car, and that makes me a happy electric car reviewer. What is a bit disappointing though is that the BYD Atto 3 does not have a one-pedal drive mode. It does have two regen modes though, normal and high, but they are also pretty disappointing. Regen mode normal is basically no regen, and regen mode high is okay-ish regen. But I like it a bit stronger. I like stronger regen, so I hope BYD with a software update will bring, I don't know, a third level of regen, ultra high, or maybe switch the current ones to low and normal and bring another high setting. But again, we want more regen, we want more regen. As you can see, the charge port is located at the right front of the car, which is not an optimal location if you ask me, but hey, it is there. Here in Europe, the Atto 3 does get a 3-phase onboard charger as standard, so it can charge with a maximum of 11 kilowatts on AC, and then charging it from 0 to 100% will take you around 7 hours. What is surprising though is that there is no option in the infotainment system to charge the Atto 3, for example, only to 80% to preserve the battery. This is probably because it has a LFP chemistry, and a LFP battery doesn't mind that much to be charged to 100%. Fast charging the Atto 3 can be done with a maximum of 88 kilowatts, and then charging it from 10 to 80% will take you around 40 minutes. But just like the Niro EV, for today's standard, this is a bit disappointing. And depending on what version you get, this car does have support for vehicle to load. The interior of the Atto 3 is different. A lot more organic shapes are being used than we are used to from other cars. And according to BYD, they got inspiration from the gym. For example, the white part here in the middle and here on your door should represent a muscle. Your armrest should represent a treadmill, and there are much more things like that. I find it a bit too far-fetched, but I have to say even though the car has the same layout as every other modern car, so big screen in the middle, small screen in front of you. It is different, but it is different in a good way. And also the quality of the materials and the build quality is really solid. There is nothing to complain in that regard. What about cubby space? The door pockets are not that great. They do not fit a 1 liter bottle. But besides that, there is a huge cubby here under your center armrest, 2 cup holders, some storage space here under the center console, and you do have a big glove box. The centerpiece of this interior, literally, is the infotainment screen. On the less expensive models you get a 12.8 inch screen, and on this top trim model you get a 15.6 inch screen that can also, yep, it does rotate, yeah. For me personally this is a bit of a gimmick, but for other people this might be handy, I guess. But besides the rotating, the infotainment system itself, it is really impressive. It is intuitive, but more impressively this responsiveness, the snappiness, it is on a Tesla level, and it is what you expect from an infotainment system in 2023. It is really good. And also the infotainment system does get over-the-air updates. It does have support for Apple CarPlay, and somewhere this year BYD told me it also has support for Android Auto. There is something with the climate control though, and that is a bit of a Chinese car quirk, because I only see this on Chinese cars, and that is the calibration of the climate control. In every non-Chinese car I set the climate control to 21 degrees and I basically never touch it. But in Chinese cars, for some reason, when you want to have hot air, when it is a bit colder outside, you have to set the climate control to 24 degrees Celsius, maybe even more. And then when it is hot outside again, you have to put it back to 21, 22 degrees. Again, for some reason, this only happens in Chinese cars. Don't know why. Doesn't really bother me, but hey, it is something to say, right? And the other thing are the heated seats. I have to mention the heated seats in this car, because you do have 2 levels of heated seats. Level 1, which is normal warmth, and you have level 2. And holy crap, your ass is on fire on level 2. It is too much. Let's have a look at the rear seats. The seat in front of me is in my typical driving position. I am 1 meter and 85 centimeters and I have plenty of knee room. I can also shove my feet under the seat in front of me. Headroom though is not so great, because this car has a panoramic roof as standard, so I am barely touching the roof. So people taller than me will touch the roof, or they have to sit a bit to the side. The car is wide enough for 3 people to sit here in all comfort, and as with basically all electric cars, you do have a flat floor, but the floor is raised, so you do not have a lot of support here for your legs. Besides that, there are pockets here up at the seat in front of me to store stuff. There is an armrest with 2 cup holders. There is a USB-A and a USB-C port, and there is something for the kids, because what BYD has done is put guitar strings on the door, so you can play guitar, or your kids can play guitar. Yeah, never let your kids find out about this. I have driven a few Chinese cars now, and I have to say that in most Chinese cars the assistance systems are not so refined. But I also have to say that in this BYD Atto 3 the assistance systems actually work really well, and I am happy to tell you that. Also, when you turn some systems off and you turn off the car and then turn on the car, the systems are still off, and I am also happy to tell you that. The only thing is that the adaptive cruise control still has a Chinese quirk. When you set it to, for example, 100 kilometers an hour, sometimes you're driving 99 kilometers per hour, sometimes 100, sometimes 101. It doesn't bother me, but for some reason this only happens in Chinese cars. So what is my final verdict of the BYD Atto 3? Well, if I look at the Atto 3 without considering the price, then the Atto 3 is a good EV with plenty of space without too many flaws. Its biggest flaw is its fast charging speed. But then if we take the price into consideration, you already have a almost fully loaded Atto 3 for 43,000 euros. And what other company offers a electric car of this size for 43,000 euros, fully loaded? The only car that comes into my mind is a Tesla Model 3 standard range. But a Tesla Model 3 is not a crossover. And the fact is, people like crossovers nowadays. So yeah, my final conclusion is that the BYD Atto 3 is a car that cannot be overlooked. And that was the review of the BYD Atto 3. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please give a like and subscribe. Maybe leave a comment, and then I would like to say now thank you a lot for watching, and as always, to be continued.